Distinguished guests, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome once again on behalf of the host city, Hong Kong, to the first ever Walk21 conference held in Asia. Asian cities generally are more populous and combine both modern-day planning and traditional growth trajectories. The context and challenges faced by them in terms of promoting walkability may arguably be different from those of, say, some European and North American cities. As our Chief Secretary for Administration, Mrs. Carrie Lam, suggested in her earlier opening speech, there are many ways, and indeed no one-size-fits-all approach, to achieve walkability. In this presentation, I'm going to share with you the Hong Kong story. Let me start with a personal story first. Back in the 1950s and 1960s, when I was still young, I lived in Wan Chai, one of the older districts on Hong Kong Island. Both my primary and secondary schools were located in Wan Chai. Hence, I walked to and from school every day. I went to movies and did my shopping, mostly in Wan Chai and Causeway Bay, which is a nearby district. Again, all accessible by walking, which sometimes took me 45 minutes to 1 hour one way. Sometimes I would take a tram, which was the cheapest mode of public transport. Taxi to me was too much of a luxury. Occasionally, I took a ferry across the harbor or to one of the outlying islands for a picnic. So you see, my younger life had all revolved around walking. And Hong Kong in those days was very walkable. And of course, you have to walk. You have no choice, given the situation. As we walked, we watched people and shops. We heard people converse, shout, argue, or even fight. But that was all part of ordinary street life. Like many big cities, Hong Kong has since moved on. Population has grown from just over 2 million in the early 1950s to 7.3 million today. Last year, we received a total of some 59 million visitors. Together, these generate about 15 million commuter trips on vehicle every day. Hong Kong is also a global financial hub and international trade center. We have one of the busiest airports and seaports in the world. Each day, close to 200,000 goods vehicles pass through the various land boundary control points between the city and the mainland of China. As population grew, the city expanded both vertically and horizontally. Economic growth also led to affluence, urbanization, and the formation and proliferation of new towns. Our public transport network had vastly improved and expanded, incorporating many more bus routes, minibuses, a mass railway system, cross-harbor tunnels, and so on. Road traffic soared, and more people were owning and driving cars. All these have added up to a vibrant metropolis having to accommodate a lot of road traffic and roadside emissions. People sometimes complain that there are too many cars on the roads, that illegal parking has become more serious in busy commercial areas, causing nuisance to traffic and pedestrians. That our sidewalks are too narrow, and that Hong Kong has become less walkable compared to the old days. Indeed, over the past few decades, our transport planning and policymaking had been too dominated by the need to build more roads and highways, expand the railway and subway networks, and increase bus and minibus routes in order to move millions across the city every day. Our transport policy is public transport oriented, with the railway as backbone and complemented by multimodal choices. So far, such a strategy has worked and suits our compact environment well. At present, close to 90% of our daily passenger trips are made on public transport, one of the highest rates among cities in the world. Several new rail links will be commissioned in the coming few years, and still more railway schemes are planned under our 2014 Railway Development Strategy. By the early 2030s, the enlarged railway network will reach 75% of residential areas and 85% of employment opportunities. Hong Kong takes pride in having one of the most efficient, reliable, accessible, and generally speaking, affordable public transport systems in the world. We are also probably one of the least car-dependent cities. However, such achievements are not enough. Rising to the challenge of climate change and green mobility, we have to consider how to rediscover walking as a natural mode of mobility. With a compact and urbanized city with heavy economic activities and a significant portion of the population living beyond walkable distance from their workplace, Hong Kong needs to rely on and enhance its public transport system. However, we envisage a system where the first mile and last mile to and from a major public transport interchange and station can be taken either on foot or by short-haul means, such as a bus, minibus, or bicycle. I call this a public transport plus strategy. Hong Kong may not be the kind of place with green meadows and natural woods sprinkled around the city, but we have walked a long way to put in place some thoughtful interventions to encourage our citizens to walk and to make our city more walkable. Let me here highlight some of our interventions in recent years. A. Elevated walkway systems, typically around the catchment area of major public transport nodes. A notable example is at the Central District, around a number of commercial buildings. B. Hillside escalator links to improve mobility of those living in densely populated areas situated in hilly places. A typical example is the one in Central District, leading all the way to Soho, a major nighttime activity place. C. Retrofitting barrier-free facilities at public walkways under the Universal Accessibility Program promulgated in August 2012 to enable more inclusive mobility for people of all ages and physical abilities. Here we are talking about hundreds of such projects which are now ongoing, and these projects are nominated by ordinary people and then shortlisted by each of the 18 district councils. And the district councils come up with a shortlist, and then the government try to respond to that shortlist. D. Covered walkways connecting to public transport interchanges to protect pedestrians from the elements, provide a more comfortable walking environment, facilitate the use of public transport, and the ease of switching between public transport modes. And this is, again, an ongoing program, and we are also seeking suggestions from local district councils. And E, finally, pedestrian schemes to give road use priority to pedestrians in certain busy areas. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenges to fostering a better walking environment in a congested, fast-paced city like Hong Kong are not to be underestimated. that more people nowadays, particularly among the younger generation, embrace walking and cycling as a cherished lifestyle does not mean the whole community or local districts are necessarily more supportive of measures to contain growth in private cars or reduce the number of buses on the road. Some people are less ready to change their commuting habits and patterns. Our experience is not short of cases where local communities oppose any attempt to touch the routing or frequency of the bus network under our area-based bus routes optimization scheme, or any transport proposals which might result in people having to walk an extra 10 or 15 minutes, or even moving a bus stop. While people are wary of road congestion, many are critical of any strong measures to reduce cars on the road, including the introduction of road charging. We now face increasing calls across all 18 districts for building more car parks. For many people, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We need actionable change and even a paradigm shift on how our city life is to be organized or reorganized. At times, we may need to slow down our city's pace a bit to pause and appreciate the diversity and vibrancy around us, like the conventional mix of small to medium-sized neighborhoods nested in highly efficient systems and the interesting community and cultural appeals of street life in different localities. Are we willing to endure more congested trains and buses during peak hours and to walk more so that we do not have to go for continuous expansion of the infrastructure? In Hong Kong nowadays, there seems to be an increasing current of sentiments against any infrastructure development. But at the same time, every district is asking government, let us have more buses, let us have more roads, let us have more railway links. So tough questions and tough trade-off indeed. Our ongoing public transport strategy study has factored in the objective of promoting barrier-free transport. While we still need to expand the capacity of our multimodal public transport system, we strive to enhance the walkability of our city for people to commute, to connect, and to enjoy, making walking an integral part of Hong Kong as a sustainable city. And for us, walking is not just important for mobility, but also it's a healthy exercise. It's also a means to enable people to really appreciate our city. And that is also very important for a sustainable city. Thank you very much.